Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole, and
I'm
this is
Vanessa. Oh shit! I didn't know you were going to introduce me.
Well, I don't know. I was just gonna say, and this is ...
Oh,
but I could have. I mean,
sorry.
it's the 4th episode. Everybody knows us already. Who's
That's
gonna
right.
know us?
Yes.
So.
Before we get into anything, can I tell you that my brain is all over the place? I know I mentioned this to you earlier, but I just hope that we can get through this because I can't focus on anything.
That's okay. We don't need to. This is a
great.
podcast of many things.
Great.
So we
So
get to hear
we're
all
just-
the thoughts.
Yes, we're just going to jump all over the place and hope that we cover everything we're supposed to cover.
We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
It's still pretty
Anyway.
early. We could this could morph into anything. It could
That's
be books and
true.
snacks now, but just like a random ass podcast later, you know?
I mean, I feel like that's where we're headed, but that's okay.
Yeah. The
I
amount
enjoy it.
the amount of notes I took this week. This really could be a podcast about every single thought that has happened
Were
for me
all
this
of-
week.
Were all of your notes like just about what you did, or was it like, I felt like this today?
No, they were not feelings.
Oh, okay.
They were just like, I did these things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Tell me all the things you did.
Oh, okay. I will do that.
Okay, great.
Well, I have a lot of things.
Okay.
So, do you want me to start with the similar things?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll start with the things that I know you also did this week.
Right, yes.
So, Thursday, we hung out after work. Well,
Yes.
during work, we got to leave work early and go hang out, which was
Yes.
nice. We went to the local dive bar that I've been calling it.
Yes.
So, and it's one of those things where, like, you walk around work, and you're like, hey, there's a secret meeting at a bar. And everybody's like, oh,
A secret meeting
a secret? What is
that
this?
you're inviting me to?
All right, I'll be there. I'm
Right.
there. So,
Right, we did. You had a great turnout. It was
I
like
know.
everyone in the office was like, Nicole wants to have a secret meeting. Let's go.
I have to find out what that is. And
Right.
surprise, it was a pool tournament that
Yeah.
I made up right on the spot because I panicked when all those people showed up, and I was like, oh shit. I was not expecting this many people to
Yes.
show up. I was expecting like 5. So I was like, you go do a thing. Here's $1. Like,
Yes, the pool tournament actually turned out great, and you also bought a bucket of tater tots, so
oh yeah.
that was a big hit.
I should clarify, the bucket of tater tots is the size of a sandcastle bucket. So
Yes,
like
not
for
like a
all-
Home Depot bucket.
Right, yes. That would be impressive, but
would be.
like we couldn't, I think between everybody, we went through half of that bucket, so I could not imagine how many
Right.
people or how many tots would be left over.
Right,
If
exactly.
it's a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket.
Yes,
And the dumpster in the back is just full of tots.
right, exactly.
Overflowing.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Yes.
And then we also hung out Saturday. Mm-hmm. That was like a
Impromptu.
yeah. Nobody
Yeah.
was planning that.
No,
so.
that's because Tim was like, I want to have a beer today. And I was like, okay. what does that have to do with me? And he was like, well, I want to, like, hang out. And I was like, okay, well, then I'll go. And then I, like, waited a few minutes, and I was like, do you want me to invite Nicole and Mike? And he was like, yes.
Let's do that.
So then you and Mike got invited. And
Exactly.
then we went out.
Yeah, I feel like we were there for like 5 hours.
We were. Yes.
It was a ridiculous long time.
Yeah.
Like my legs started to fall asleep.
We watched it slowly get fuller and fuller of, is that the right word? More full, whatever, of all of the Saturday night crew of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was rowdy.
Yeah, we picked a good time to go.
We did. We left at the appropriate old people time.
Exactly. Before it was too busy, and
Yes.
before I think our server actually probably left.
He
Like,
probably did. We were there for his whole shift.
Yeah. We like signed the check, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll totally check on you guys. And then I didn't see him the rest of the time we were there. So it was like, well,
Yes.
I was done anyways.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I really, I was really happy to go there. And one of the reasons I picked to go there is because I absolutely love their painkillers.
Oh, yes. I did not try that, but everyone at the table loved it.
Yes, they're so delicious. It's like being on vacation in a glass.
It seems all the ingredients are very tropically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was very tasty.
Yes.
I only drank 2 because I know my limits. Mm-hmm. If I drink more, you get heartburn, and then you just wake up the next day and you're like, why does my liver hurt? Why does my pancreas hurt?
Yeah.
Why does everything hurt?
Everything hurts. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that was the reason I wanted to go there. And while I was sitting there drinking my second painkiller, I said, does this count as a snack?
I mean, it could. If you wanted it to.
It does for me, because that's what I'm going to measure my books in today, by the way.
You are? Of painkillers?
Yes, in painkillers.
Okay, great.
But, side note, so other than that, my week was pretty okay when you weren't there. You know, I got through.
Oh, great. It was good when I wasn't there.
It was pretty okay. I mean...
Oh, okay.
what I was saying is I got through without you.
Oh, I see.
Like, as soon as you were gone, it was great.
It was great. I loved it when you weren't there, Vanessa. Okay, sorry. My bad.
That's okay. What did I do this week? Oh, well, big news. Remy had an appointment with the vet. I know we did a puppy appointment, last week, but we had another puppy appointment this week because Remy is a little shit. So, backstory is this dog has had surgeries and all this other stuff because he is predispositioned to get bladder stones. And so he's had his little nuts choppied, and he's had surgeries, and he gets everything flushed out, and he's on special food, and but everyone, you can tell he's having a hard time. One of the indicators of his bladder stones is he has accidents in the house.
Oh.
So we were like, the last week or so, we've been coming home and there's accidents, and
Remy.
I know, I want to be like, is this you being dramatic?
Right.
Or do you have bladder stones?
Right.
So before I could be like, bad puppy, I had to take him to the vet and have them verify. And turns out he doesn't have bladder stones.
He's just being a bad boy.
He's just being a jerk. Yes. He's like, you left me here? I'm going to pee on the things you love.
That's right.
Yeah, which if anybody out there has a dachshund, that's pretty much par for the course. If it's raining out, or if they're angry at you, they're like, you know what?
Okay.
The things you love, piss all over.
Great. So, I'm going to jump in real fast. And Ollie had to go to the vet this week, too. We just had a puppy doctor time.
Yeah.
But his is not for that reason. He just has really bad skin allergies. So he had to go get checked out and see. So they increased his medication, but he's doing better.
Oh,
he seems to be responding to the increase of medication. So that's good.
Yeah. I've been waiting for this podcast so you could tell me that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes,
So.
it's doing much better. So I don't have to hear him scratching himself every 12 seconds. So it's great.
Or while you're trying to sleep and he's just like...
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. So what else did I do? Oh, we made beer this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It's my husband's... I don't think he does it enough to call it a hobby. Mm-hmm. He dabbled in it for a while, and then now it's just one of those things where he does it once a year, right? So that has enough time to ferment before deer camp, which is usually in November.
Oh, right.
So he told. Sorry, I was going to say he told me to say these next things.
Okay.
I have to tell everybody that we made a brown ale with notes of coffee, honey, and rum, and it will have a 5.8 ABV, and 35 IBUs.
Great. I love that information.
Yes. So now to your question.
Oh, I was just
Unless that was your question.
It was not.
Oh, okay.
But is starting it now the right amount of time to have it ready by November?
Yeah. So it's gonna ferment for a handful of weeks, and then we'll put it in I don't know if we're gonna bottle it after that or if we're gonna put it into a secondary fermenter. No clue.
Oh, all right.
That's a Mike thing. I was just there to help, which means
right.
I was there to stir and hold bags and, stuff like that. So, yeah. So we were doing that when you texted me like, hey, you want to hang out? And I was like, I would love to, but not until 4.
Right.
So
perfect.
So, a couple other small things happened this week, but, we can really temper down how much I'm talking about. So we're not here for literally 2 hours just listening about
It'll just
Nicole's
be
week.
Nicole's Week podcast.
Yes. This week with Nicole.
Oh, yes. That's what we're going to call it. This segment is going to be called that.
Yes.
Well, I don't really have much else other than the only thing you didn't mention that we did together, and it's my snack this week. Because on Thursday we went to Starbucks. Because the fall menu came out on Thursday, which means I tried the new Apple Crisp oat milk shaken espresso. I think that's what it's called. And it was yummy. But also they came out came back out with their pumpkin cream cheese muffin. And that is my favorite baked good or whatever from Starbucks. And I love it. And so that's going to be my rating this week is my pumpkin cream cheese muffin. Oh, and also in regards to snacks, last week I gave myself a medal for avoiding all snacks, and this week I have to give it back. Because this week I did the complete opposite. I literally ate everything I could think of this week, and I'm feeling it. So, yay.
It's interesting you say that because I had a similar week and I was like,
Did
if
you?
she's only going to share one thing, me too. But since we're going there.
Yeah, you ate all the snacks too?
Oh, yes.
All the things? Mm-hmm.
It was a week.
Yeah, I just literally could not say no to anything. If it was in front of me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to eat that. And I don't know. I was a little disappointed. And then also I was like, I don't ever do this. So I guess this is my week.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm like, I don't ever do this. If we disregard the last, 40 years of my life.
Oh, sorry. You went much further.
Right.
Dang it.
Yeah, I've really decided, because in the last couple weeks that I haven't been running, I have noticed that way more. It helps temper how many snacks I eat. It offsets all those calories by running. And I haven't had that in the last couple weeks. And I'll tell you what, it's amazing how fast the calories add back in, whereas how long it feels like it takes to get that to go down.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Well, great.
But yeah, I made mint chocolate chip ice cream and the creamy.
Oh, that's right.
I obviously ate a half a bucket of tots, which did something terrible to me.
Same.
I made what did I make? I made garlic bread from my sourdough starter, which was the first time I'd ever done that, and it was delicious. And I also, this is a fail, snacky fail. I was gonna make those cupcakes.
Oh, that's right.
For Grant's
for
thing.
work. Yeah.
And I realized that I did not have an ingredient, so I was like, oh, well, I'll sub an ingredient. Well, I've never subbed that ingredient specifically before with what I used. And I'm not going to tell anybody what it was because I don't need a whole bunch of people being like,
well, of course you couldn't do that.
Sir,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I don't know. So I ended up subbing something that I've never used before in cupcakes, and instead of it being cupcakes, it was like vanilla cornbread. It was very dense.
Which isn't terrible, but it's not what you were going for.
Right. Like, it's difficult to frost
Right.
cornbread muffins because they were like all puffy in weird spots.
Yes.
So I don't know. I might try again next week, or
Okay.
I bought him a coffee today.
Okay.
So, Grant, does that count?
He
I'm
says
asking.
yes.
All right. Thanks, Grant. He would say yes, too.
He would say yes. Yes. So before we move on to anything, there was some book news this week. Did you see that Kindle is now on Peloton?
Oh my gosh, I did see that.
Yeah. So you can now go on and download your whole Kindle library on the Peloton and just be fit all the time while you're reading.
Man.
I mean, I'm not going to do that because
No.
I hate the Peloton bike.
I hate all bikes. Let me clarify.
To be fair, I've never used anything but a Peloton bike because that's what we have in our house. But I hate it. So I think I'll just stick to my Kindle and my comfy chair. But for those who want to ride or the Peloton treadmill, if you have either of those, download your Kindle app and get to reading.
Yes.
I saw so many posts this week that were like, I'm going to be so healthy.
No. I don't believe that for a second.
No, it's not. It's not going to happen.
If you manage it, you tell me your secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
I'm going to look out over the next month or so and see how many people are still talking about if they are reading while they're walking or running or riding.
No,
It'll probably be a drastic drop.
Yeah.
And if you know when that news came out, you can see how far in advance we are recording to when these are posting. So I apologize if this is late news to you, but it is what it is. You're welcome.
I know. It's every time I'm like, hey, it's Kindle Unlimited right now. When you're I'm like, well, it's almost the end of the month.
Yeah, so I don't know what the cycle is. Maybe we should do some figuring out and figure out what the... if there's a cycle of when books fall off or... Because I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't know that answer.
Tune in next week. We will have the answer.
Maybe.
Or will we?
Or will we? Potentially.
You'll only know if you tune in.
Right. Okay. Do you want to do your books first or me?
I have a lot of books. Well,
You
I have
do?
3 books. I have 3 books.
Oh.
It feels like a lot.
Okay. I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay. Because I only have 2. And I don't really have a lot to say about either one of them. So I'll go first.
All right.
Okay. So like I said, I finished 2 this week. Okay. So the first one is The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. And it's a mystery thriller. I mean, if you know Frida McFadden, that's all she does. It was okay. So let me tell you what it was about first, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. So the description of this book really this was a sister read with me and my sister. And the description really got us. It sucked us in and it did not deliver. So it's about this woman who, when she was 9, I think, her father was arrested for being a serial killer. He murdered women in their basement. So, yeah. And then, so the story, you get some flashbacks of that, but for the most part, the story is set 20 years later. And she's a surgeon. And she's changed her name because she doesn't want anybody to know that she's associated with this infamous serial killer. And then ultimately, one of her patients is murdered in the same way. It's the same MO that her father used to kill women in. And so then the whole thing is she's now suspected because it's the same MO and it's the anniversary of him being caught and all of this stuff, right? So that's what the whole book is about. Of her, you find out, I don't know, I don't want to give too much away, but you find out that she, how she found out about her dad back in the day, and you kind of go through all the the steps of what's happening present day. So I rated it 3. What am I doing? Oh, pumpkin. 3 pumpkin cream cheese muffins. But I will say, I don't know how much better this book would have been if I hadn't listened to it. The narrator was not good. Both my sister and I, within minutes of starting the book, like, talked to each other and was like, this narrator is terrible. So, I think it just made it, I would be interested to know how it is without listening to it on Audible, like of actually just reading it and seeing if it was better.
Like all the voices are just in your head?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it was really weird. I didn't like it. Also, the story was a little predictable for me. Like, I figured out one of the big points in chapter 5.
Oh.
So, I don't know. So along with that, so this is our 5th Frida McFadden book that my sister and I have done together in our sister book club. And we both really, really enjoyed the first one, which is why we kind of kept going back to her, because we were like, oh, maybe whatever. It seems not... the first one might have been a fluke.
You read the best one first.
We read the best one first. But so it was the best one to us because ratings for her books are wildly different. Like, some people really, really hate the first one that we read. And some people, I don't know. Like, The Housemaid is one of her biggest ones, and that one was just okay. Like, that was probably like number 2 or 3 for us as far as the ones we really enjoyed. But so I think we're at a point now where we may not read any more Frida McFaddens unless it's like free, maybe. Yeah. Because we're not having good luck
just take
with
a break.
her. Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And you can tell me it's too spoilery.
Okay.
Is her father, like, when the second, like, the anniversary murder happened, is her father still alive or in jail?
He's still in prison.
So he's still in the picture during the... Yeah,
he's still in prison, and he's like states away. Like, she moved far away from where it happened. So that's why they assume that it's her.
Gotcha.
The police go after her thinking that she killed her own patient because it was like the same MO, the same like everything. So
I gotcha.
I don't think that's too spoilery because like you find out that he's in prison pretty early. Because that's what I was thinking a little bit of it too. Like, oh, maybe he escaped or something, but he didn't.
Nope. Okay.
So that's that one. And then my second one is called The Lying Woods by Ashley Elston. And we picked this one for 2 reasons. 1, it was free on Audible. And 2, she is also the author of another book called First Lie Wins. And we both really, really enjoyed that one. Okay, so this is also a sister book club. So yeah, both of my books this week are with my sister. So we both listened to First Lie Wins like a month or so ago, and we loved it. So then we saw this one was for free, and it was by the same author, so we went with it. So this one I would call, I think it's like a YA mystery. I don't know what cozy mystery means, but to me I would kind of guess it's like a cozy mystery because it's not like the stakes aren't super high. Like, I guess that's what you would call cozy, right? So this one is it follows, the lead is a teenage boy, which is different. I feel like it's very uncommon that I read books with male leads, and it's not like a dual point of view type thing. Well, it is a dual point of view, but both are males, so that's what makes it a little interesting. So anyways, it follows this teen boy, Owen. He grew up rich, basically he was at this like elite boarding school. And then one day early on in the book, this is not a spoiler, his mom picks him up, and she has to pull him out of the school because they find out that his dad has been embezzling money. So all of the money from the company that he owns, so basically all the money they've been using to pay for him to go to school is stolen money. So his mom pulls him out and they move back to like her small hometown, and he works at this orchard. When he gets back, he works at this little orchard with this guy named Gus. And the story basically is, it's a dual point of view and it's a flashback. So in Owen's point of view, it's current day, and then in this other guy Noah's point of view, it's 1999, so it's like 25 years late, like before.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was not what I was expecting, because
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be like a super crazy like mystery, and even the like Goodreads description and all that makes it sound like it's really, really crazy. It's not. It's very mild, but I still really liked it. I rated it 4 pumpkin cream cheese muffins, mostly because I feel like I really liked it. I enjoyed the story. I liked the dual point of view. I liked the like the reveal that you get at the end. I still don't think it was like super crazy or anything, but it was like, oh, that's a cool reveal, and you get some like cool information. So I feel like it's enjoyable. It's not great, but it's enjoyable.
Good.
So
nice.
I would, and it was really quick. I think if you listen to it, it was only like 9 hours or something, so it's not like a super long one.
The fact that you and your sister did 2 book reads this week, and you're like, yeah, no big deal. I'm like, how?
Well, if it helps, we haven't talked about The Lying Woods yet.
Oh, so
we have
this
talked
is
about the
another
other one. Yes.
Yeah, this is another. I get to hear it first.
Yes.
Remy, calm down, sir.
Remy's got an attitude.
He does.
Yes, I did text her earlier though, and she did finish it. So we just have to schedule our conversation. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Nice.
Yay.
Like I said earlier, I read 3 books. Well, read 3 books. I listened to 2 books, and I started to listen to a third, and then I realized that it was also Kindle Unlimited, so I just swapped over and finished it in Kindle Unlimited. So but that one, I was like, oh, I'm going to have 2 books going into this week. That's pretty good. And then the third book I listened to in less than a day. So it was another short one. By the end of yesterday, I was like, I have like 30 pages left. I'll just finish it and talk about it tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
But that really put me behind on my other books, like the ones that I've started multiple weeks ago. So, oh well. The first book, I am going to struggle a little bit to talk about this one. So I apologize up front, everyone. It's Lady Clementine, and, well, Lady Clementine is the correct pronunciation. And
you listened to this one?
I listened to it.
And that's what they said?
That's what they said. So she's Winston Churchill's wife, Clementine. So this is a literary fiction book, and it's by Marie Benedict, and I got sucked into this book because I've listened to Agent 355, and I've listened to her other book, The Personal Librarian, and I didn't even look when Kindle was like, or Audible was like, hey, we think you might like this book. I was like, okay, cool, listen. And then I started listening. I was like, this is Marie Benedict. Who is this? And so I looked, and I was like, oh, that's because I've listened to other books by her.
Did you like the other ones?
I did. So so Agent 355 I liked. The Personal Librarian I liked.
Okay.
This one...
No.
This is where I'm going to struggle a bit. Okay. So it's... I should say that I don't know anything about Clementine Churchill. no backstory, no history on her. I know more about her husband than I know about her. Mm-hmm. I know he was notoriously a difficult person to live with, be around, work with, interact with as a human, based on other things that I've read. So from that standpoint, the book makes sense, but I felt like the whole book was her complaining about him. It was her talking about her frustration at being pregnant all the time, which I totally get for the time period.
Sure.
You know, but it was just, there was no, the time leaps were weird. So in like one chapter, she's like, I'm angry, I'm pregnant, comma, I'm pregnant again, and I'm sad, comma, I'm pregnant a third time, and I'm sad.
What?
And I'm like, it's like repetitive.
That's
like that.
Confusing.
Right. And then 10 years later, they're talking about like something else, and it jumps to like a dinner party that I couldn't really place why that was an important dinner party.
Okay.
And then it jumps again like 10 more years or 5 more years or whatever, and now it's World War One. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And then it's like World War One, which is interesting. And then, you know, there's some other things that happen in her life that were interesting.
Okay.
And then World War II, where
wow, you really get
it,
like the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is how she is. So if anybody else knows, you know, let me know. I did not do any research on her before or after this book.
Okay.
But based on the way the book is, she just seems like a very unhappy person.
I mean, just from the little bit you're giving me, that's what it sounds like.
Right. And it's kind of her, it feels like it's her trying to come to terms with, you know, she feels like she lives in her husband's shadow and she's so much more than that, and coming to terms with that. But I don't know if it ever makes that final step, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that would make sense, right? If you don't feel like you're your own person, and especially if she feels like, oh, I'm just here, always pregnant, living in his shadow, like, okay, I get it that you would be an unhappy person, but that's sad that you didn't get anything else from her, you know?
Yeah. Like I said, there was, you know, what she did, you know, some of the stuff she did in World War One and World War Two, you know, she, you know, was very, you know, she did a lot of stuff.
Like active.
Very active. Okay. And, you know, like I said, all knowledge based from this book. I'm sure it's factual. But it just seemed more of a story about somebody who was just trying to find meaning. Yeah. And books like that make me sad. Yeah,
it is sad.
So, I gave it a 2.5 because not so much the sad. I don't know. It felt like a lot of complaining and a lot of like just unhappiness, and I'm also taking into account her other books, which are better. Right. So.
Yeah.
You know, judging against the scale there, I couldn't get, I was like, maybe it's not fair, but this is my vote.
Right.
This is my decision.
That's like an easy thing to do, though, especially when you've read another author so much that, like, you know what they're capable of, I guess that's the way to say it. And you're like, I know how when your writing is really good, what it sounds like. So I think it's easy to compare those.
Yep. So, 2.5 painkillers.
Okay.
But, okay, this book. Probably my favorite book this week.
Nice.
I know. It is called Dead Mountain by Donnie Eicher. So, this is also an audiobook. It's a historical fiction. It was actually, I guess, released in 2013. So, it's been out there for a while. I've never seen it before. Yeah. Why it showed up this week in my Kindle or in my Audible account, I have no clue why the Audible decided this week was the week.
Algorithms are weird.
Right. So I guess it was a bestseller. It was on the bestseller list in like 2015. Okay. So like I said, why it decided to pop up today, I don't know what happened in there. So, but it's a story of 9 hikers who, they're all from Russia. they're students going to college, and before the semester starts, they decide they're going to go and hike up it's called the Ural Mountains, the Ural Mountain Range. They're trying to get this certification so they can set themselves up for like the future, and they all end up dying. Spoiler.
Is there a documentary on this?
I think there might be.
I feel like
I have no clue.
I feel like I've seen a documentary on this story before.
So there's actually a lot out there.
Okay.
I know there were several books written in Russia. At least that's, what this book told me. Mm-hmm. I believe there was a documentary on it, but it's about these 9 hikers that die mysteriously.
I was just going to say, are they all mysterious deaths?
Right.
So I think I've either watched a documentary or I've heard a podcast, like a true crime podcast about it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think that's actually where I've heard this story.
Yeah, I 100%. When I started listening to this book, I was like, I bet this was a podcast at some point, and you would probably know.
Yes, I should find it. I think I know who it was. I should find it, and you should listen to it.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
So the author, like I said, his name is Donnie Eicher. He is also the narrator, which I appreciate.
Oh, nice.
And backstory on him, he's a film producer, a writer, director, and he came across this topic while he was working a different project, unrelated, not a big deal. But so he spent a couple years writing this book, and in that he goes to Russia a couple times, and all this is in the book. It's just this experience of him trying to write this book. And the mystery comes in, and maybe this will tell you if it's what you're thinking, is these 9 hikers go up into the Ural Mountains. They never come back, obviously. So a search party is sent up, and the search party finds a tent, but everything is still in there, put together like they were in there. But on the tent is actually cut open. From the inside.
Yep. I absolutely know this story.
Yeah. And so they end up finding these hikers in, not all together, but groups kind of all scattered all over the place, and nobody knows quite why. So the rest of the book, kind of explores some major theories, was there an avalanche? Was there nuclear testing? Was it UFOs?
I was just going to say, was it aliens? Because I'm pretty sure that's where the podcast takes it.
Right. So he's just, the end of the book, he tells the whole story up until that, and then the end of the book, he kind of by process of elimination says why he doesn't think it's all these different reasons, and then he gives his own reason.
Okay, nice.
Why that is. So I will say, though, if you listen to that podcast, you probably already know, but if you Google this, the Dyatlov Pass incident, if you Google this and you read the Wikipedia page, it will spoil the book.
Okay, good to know.
I went to the Wikipedia page and read it, but after.
Okay. Did you know the story before you read it? Oh, you didn't? Okay.
So,
nice.
Yeah. So, but I was like, every time, I know I've said this before, like my history books, I don't like to be able to read the Wikipedia page and find out what the book is about. Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't read the Wikipedia page beforehand.
Yeah.
That being said, I did subtract a little bit from the book because it was basically the book.
Right.
Summarized.
Somebody went out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Which not this guy's, the author's fault, but still. So I gave it 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Painkillers.
Nice.
So.
Before you move on to the next book, I have to give you a little tidbit about Dead Mountain.
Okay.
So on Saturday, Tim was playing on his phone, and he was like, do you call it book sniping? And I was like, what the hell is book sniping? He goes, when you go into other people's Goodreads and you just mark the books that they have as want to read. I was like, that's not you just made that up. And he was like, all right, well, I just book sniped Nicole's book of Dead Mountain.
I saw that. I saw he added it to his Goodreads
He
list.
did,
So,
yeah. But I need you to know that he calls it book sniping.
It's going to catch on.
From here on forth, we shall call it book sniping.
All right. Everybody remember this date.
Yes.
8, whatever day
Whatever
it is.
day we are on.
Whatever day we're on.
We're not good at this.
No. Sorry, guys.
All right. Okay, third book.
Third book.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Audible book. Sorry. And I don't know why I started it. I don't know why I did this. I was just like, whatever, I'll try it out. If I don't like it, I don't have to tell anybody I started it.
That's right.
It's The Accidental Dating Experiment. And it is a straight up rom-com.
I saw you add this to your Goodreads, and I was like, what is she doing? What mood is she in?
A free mood. That's what I was
mood.
in.
Okay, fair.
Mood. I knew that I was going to have all day yesterday to do chores and, take the dogs for walks and, stuff like that. So I was like, well, I'll start a book.
Needed to fill the time.
Right. And I didn't have any others. And I was like, I'll just do a free one. So, I can't say that I've ever done a rom-com as an audiobook before or a, what is it called? Like a romance, maybe is a better term. I don't know if I've ever done that as a audiobook before. And
it's very uncomfortable.
It can be kind of uncomfortable. I'll just first off say that there's 2 narrators, one for the female, one for the male. I liked the guy as if he was doing his own voice.
Okay.
But when he did the female, all the women, it was...
It's really terrible.
It was terrible. It was, every single one of them was like, oh my God. Oh. And I was just like, oh, nobody talks like that. I don't know a single woman who talks like that.
That was his version of a woman. Great.
Oh my God. Stop it.
Wonderful.
Oh my God. So, yeah, I was not a fan of his, because it was even, it was every single woman that he did. It wasn't just like his interpretation of the female lead. It was like her mom. It was this other person. I was just like, this is not okay. Okay, so tropes. Before I move into the book, tropes. There's 3 tropes I identified.
Okay.
Go me. It was second chance.
Okay.
Forced proximity. And fake dating. I found all of them.
All right.
Like I said, I listened to it, and I got caught in the middle of the first sex scene while out on a puppy walk. Not ideal.
So is it a spicy rom-com then? Like very open door?
Yes, very open door. I was trying to figure out when I was going to ask you this question because this book brought up a question. I was finishing reading it up at night, and I looked at Mike, and I was like, so, and you don't have keep it in your head if you want the number in your head. Everybody keep the number in your head. You don't have to say it out loud. This is a judge-free zone. How many sex scenes or explicit scenes are in a book before it's considered smut? I asked my husband. He gave me a number. You don't have to tell me yours. It's up to you. But I Googled it.
Oh, there's like an answer. What's the answer? Is it 1?
So this is according to Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
So a very reliable source. According to Urban Dictionary, if there is 1 or more sex or explicit scenes, the book is considered smut.
That's what I was thinking.
All you women out there who have been reading smut all these years and didn't even know it.
Is it? But is smut like? To me, smut is when it's like very open door. So if it's a closed door romance, and they like just reference that they had sex, I don't consider that at all. Right.
The wording is explicit.
Okay. All right. So very open door. Got it.
Very open door. So
it makes sense. If there's 1 in there, you're reading smut, man.
Right. Sorry, guys. Or maybe this is a new you. Maybe you're like, you know what? I might as well just embrace it.
That's right.
I counted. I'm not 100% sure if this count is correct because I got I was probably at like 70% of the book, and I asked my husband this, and he was like, well, how many does it have? And I was like, counting, 7?
Oh, goodness.
I was like, at what point does it take away from the book?
Yeah.
But I will, go back really quick and say there wasn't much of a storyline to begin with.
Okay.
So,
I mean, and I've told you before that I know I've mentioned this. I don't really care about having that in there. Like, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. But if it's literally just sex so that they have sex, like, I don't care. I want it to, like, add to the story in some sort of way. But, yeah, so that's, meh. Okay.
yeah. So it was basically the storyline, if you want to call that, my air quoting here. They have a podcast together, this guy and this girl, and I was like, oh, podcast. Look at me. So in this podcast, one of their listeners who they've helped, she gifts them a house. And
all right.
I know. If anybody wants to gift me a house. So
I want a house.
Or something cool. Anyway, yeah. So she gives them a house. And so they travel to this house together because they're thinking that they can, like, fix it up and sell it and use the money to, like, fund their podcast and fund some other side hustles they have going on. And so they travel there. And they're living together in that house while they fix it up. And surprise, there's only one bed.
Right. Oh, that's another trope.
Oh, is it?
One bed.
Dang it. 4 tropes. I missed one. Okay, so, yeah. And basically, the girl is trying to date new people and find the one. And the guy is like, oh, I can help you. And so he, it goes back to that. So,
Yeah.
like I said, not much of a storyline.
Yeah. You're right.
Oh, well,
Was it, like,
is what it
enjoyable
is.
at least?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I rated Lady Clementine at a 2.5. I was like, well, it was, I don't want to say the enjoyment was more, but like, I didn't get sad feelings from it. So I gave it 3.
Okay. A
3
solid
painkillers.
average read. Okay.
Yeah, not looking for much in storyline. You're just looking for some smut.
Yeah.
Some some definition slut or.
That's right. You said this with no judgment.
Sluts. Definition smut. Dang it.
Okay.
You're leaving that in there, aren't you?
I am.
Yes.
Is that all your books?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before we go on to our, what is that called? Oh, like our random discussion. I have to give you a recommendation from one of our listeners, aka my mom.
Okay, let me get my pencil.
All right. So she listened to the episodes and she texted me and she said, oh, since Nicole really likes history books, I have a recommendation because she rated it 5 sea salt caramels
Dang, serious business.
Yeah, in relation to what I was rating them that week. So the book is called Ride the Wind by Lucia St. Clair Robson. So I'll tell you what it's about. It actually sounds really good. I might actually read it as well. But it is set in 1836. And when Cynthia Ann Parker was 9 years old, she was kidnapped by the Comanche Indians. And it's a true story.
I think I've heard this story.
Yeah, and and I mentioned it to Tim, and he was like, oh, that's a really cool story. Like, he's never read the book, but he knows her story. But I guess the whole book just, like, follows her and her growing up basically as a blonde white woman in the Comanche tribe. And she becomes one of them, basically.
Nice.
Like, integrated into the tribe and all that kind of stuff. So, but that was my mom's recommendation.
Nice. Well, I will add it to the list.
Yes.
Definitely.
I think I'm going to, too. It sounds good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I also have listener feedback.
Oh, listener feedback.
Yes.
Not from my mom.
Not from your mom.
So that means we have 2 listeners. Mm-hmm. At least.
Though Vanessa's mom, you can talk to me too. It's okay.
Yes.
I accept this.
Okay.
So my listener feedback is I was told that my rating system for week 2 is not acceptable.
Was that your banana splits, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was told that banana splits are not snacks. They're desserts.
Well,
and
listen
I
here,
have something
listener.
to tell you, listener, who shall remain nameless. Words I cannot speak. I'm so angry.
I'm so angry I can't talk.
My view is if it's not eaten as a meal, it's a snack.
I mean, that's fair. Also, we can have whatever we want. This is our podcast, our rules.
Whatever makes you happy.
That's right.
Food makes me happy.
That's right. Whatever you ate that week, I accept it. And I accept this definition. So, dear listener.
Dear listener, I don't say this to be mean to you. I know this. I should point out that if you send me something, I will not ridicule you hard because you disagree with me. I know this listener.
That's right. This is a personal listener, not.
And I have to just let him know that
That's
I
right.
don't agree.
Agreed.
So, okay.
I agree with you, Nicole. Okay.
Sorry, guys. I was having technical difficulties on my end. After 6 reboots, I'm back. I don't know if there's any sound problems or if we sound different. That's why. My bad, guys.
Yes. If we do, whoops. And we'll just move on.
Yeah. So with that being said, Vanessa, would you like to finally pick the discussion topic so we can talk about that?
Let's pick it. Okay. So some ASMR here. Okay. Are you ready?
Maybe.
Okay.
I always feel like as soon as you're like, all right, let's do this, I immediately freeze and my brain shuts off. It's like, am I ready?
It's a thoughts on discussion. Okay. So what are your thoughts on BookTok?
Oh, man. This is pretty early for us to be throwing down on BookTok.
Are we ready for this one? I don't know.
Yeah. I have a couple thoughts, I guess.
I do as well.
Yeah.
You go first.
All right. Well, I would say my initial thought, just straight out the gate, is my brain instantly defaulted to, I don't like BookTok.
Samesies.
Right. Like I just off the top of my head thinking, I can only think of one book that I read that's a BookTok book where I was like, this is a great book. And all the other ones I'm just kind of like, meh. Or I DNF'd, straight up, easily say, I've talked about this book before, Hatred of, Assistant to the Villain. That's definitely
right.
I DNF. That's my only DNF this year. And
that's a big BookTok one.
Right. But then I think off the top of my head, I think Cersei is also a BookTok.
Oh, you might be right. I think I've seen it on there for sure.
Yeah. And that's my favorite book of the year so far. So I'm both ends of the spectrum. So
right. I think I'm pretty 50-50 as well of success of BookTok. I immediately was going to say ACOTAR because I think that was one of the first ones. Without even thinking, it was there it is. Because I think that was one of the first ones that I read that I know for sure came off of BookTok. And we all know how I feel about that one. But I recently had a conversation with my sister about BookTok books because a lot of times when we're trying to pick our sister book club stuff, it's obviously the things that are coming to my head are ones that I've seen online everywhere. And I know from our experience of some of the books that we've read, they haven't all been great. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm pretty 50-50 on them being good or not, like as far as recommendations go, I've had at least 5 this year alone of books that have come off of BookTok that were either DNFs or I just didn't really like them. So, I mean, 5, I guess, is not terrible in the big scheme of all of them.
But when you attach emotion to it,
sure, of course, it makes it harder. And then there's also been some that I've really, really enjoyed. So I feel like I am across the spectrum of BookTok. I think one of my biggest issues with BookTok is that the people that are like, do you call them influencers? Do you call, I don't know, BookTokers, Bookstagrammers?
Promoters or something, yeah.
I feel like many of them, they just like tell you, they like promote a book really, really hard because it's like a popular book or whatever. So it's going to get them more views, more likes, more whatever. And they never really explain the reasons that they like or dislike. Usually they don't dislike them, but why they do like them. Yeah. And to me, like, if you just tell me this book is great, read it, that's not helpful. If you tell me why you liked it or why you disliked it, maybe we align on those things, which is why, like, I feel like when you and I are trying to explain our reviews of the books that we're giving, we're trying to tell the reasons that we liked or disliked them, because somebody else doesn't have those same qualms, if you will, about books that we might have. So like they might hear the same thing that we didn't like and be like, ooh, I actually like that trope or that thing or whatever. And so when
disregard theirs.
Yeah, exactly. So when BookTokers and stuff, when the influencers are just like, read this, that's great, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I've seen it, to your point, I've seen in the past couple months, like a lot of BookTokers getting, I don't want to say getting in trouble because nobody's out there slapping wrists, but like, you know, just where authors, independent authors or whatever, are coming out and saying like, hey, I gave you hundreds of dollars to review my book.
Right.
And you didn't do a review. So I like the fact that BookTok is out there creating a place for people to like find new books and for authors to get out there. And,
for sure. I think it's helped like the indie authors for sure.
Right. Yeah. And I also think I've heard that it saved Barnes and Noble or something like that. I've heard that before. Like Barnes and Noble was talking about how they like, this is like pandemic, like they were in, you know, they were going to have to go bankrupt and they were going to have to end and then, you know, walk that back a couple of years now. And now they're like, oh, we're in the green. And some people, some people get, you know, say like, oh, that's because of BookTok.
It might, I mean, it makes sense because you walk into any bookstore now, most of them have a section that says like hashtag book talk, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah. So like it makes sense, but I also agree with you that like what it's done for reading and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's great. It's built these massive fandoms. It's like done all this stuff for people to go and reading. It's like this new insurgence of people enjoying reading. But I think it can't be all positive, right? I think there's some negatives there. Another thing I question too is like the publishing world. Like, are they now publishing because it's a great book, or are they publishing because like, ooh, this is very marketable and the BookTokers will eat it up?
Right. Like they're actually just pushing out more books. Like what is it? Quality over quantity over quality.
Exactly. So I feel like there's going to be some negative things. Also, it's not going to last forever as far as like BookTok might, right? Like, as far as like people promoting books and all that kind of stuff, and the ability to have that as what you do as your job or whatever, I think it can last for a long time. But I think maybe the readership isn't going to last forever because some people who may have jumped in with ACOTAR, which I know there's a lot out there because I see them online all the time. Like, this is my first fantasy book. I feel like that's also another like 50-50 thing, right? Where like there are going to be a lot of people who are like, oh my God, I love reading now. And they jump into it. And then there's going to be people who just kind of like teeter off and are like, reading is cool, but like I have a life.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, especially if this was my second thought, and I'm going to tie it into what you just said. I feel like lately I've seen on TikTok, on BookTok, sorry guys, on BookTok, I've seen a lot of the same authors and the same types of books, same genres, same tropes, same everything. And everybody is like, I want more spice, which... You know, we've talked about before, I don't mind spice, but like, that's not the whole book for me. So, you know, tying it back to what you said, at some point, you know, you keep pushing out just books to push them out. You're going to lose a bunch of people because they're like, is this what reading? You know, like. Right,
exactly.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I feel like that's what is being pushed all the time now too, which I know I've said this before, like I really, really enjoy fantasy. But it's becoming now where all of the fantasy that's out there is spicy fantasy or like the romantasy thing or whatever. And that's fine. But like when I'm reading a fantasy book, I want it to be like 95% fantasy and then throw some spice in there. Like that's fine. But, and I feel like it's becoming a little bit of the opposite, like of importance, not necessarily that authors are doing that intentionally, but just like the importance of people being like, I loved this. There was a touch of magic and all of the romance, right? Like, I feel like that's what has become important in people like promotions.
Yeah.
So, wow, we had a lot of thoughts on BookTok.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So.
Okay, well,
hopefully we didn't just like everybody's like, you don't like BookTok? You're dead to me.
I feel like there might be a line of people who have always read like their entire lives, I feel like have similar thoughts to us. And then people who are newer to reading like the last 5 years or so are like, we love it. But it also could be generational. We are old as fuck. So
that's true. That is true.
A little bit generational. We'll just say it's maybe a mixture of everything. So
yeah, you actually bring up a valid point there. We are old. So
I think we are on the tail end of the generation who like really is into TikTok and all that. So yeah, well, anyway, go to our Instagram and share what you think about BookTok with us. There will be a little question thingy in our story, and you can go and tell us
how much you love BookTok and how much you hate us now.
Right now,
but be nice about it.
Us. Please. So go to our. I was about to say go to our BookTok. We don't have one of those. Go to our Instagram, Savor the Story Pod, and tell us those things. And then also you can go to our website at savorthestorypod.com and go there and fill out the little form so that you can email us, and you can send us your BookTok thoughts there, or you can send us anything about snacks or books or
secret thoughts to Vanessa.
Random secret thoughts to me. I'm going to continue to ask for those until I start getting them, and then I will never stop. So
if they turn out to be really good,
right? Yeah. If they're great, we're going to read them on the podcast anonymously if you wish. And then I'll just keep asking them forever. So yeah, I think that's everything. So
it is everything.
The end.
The end, guys. Get out of here. I still don't have an outro. So
nope, still don't.
Bye, guys. Bye.